Marcus wiped the grease from his hands, not knowing that in 60 seconds, his entire life would explode in front of everyone he worked with. The CEO, Richard Aldridge, stormed into the garage bay like a man possessed, his Italian shoes clicking against the concrete, his face twisted with contempt. "You," he spat, pointing at Marcus, "you're the reason we're behind schedule. You're slow, you're careless, and frankly, I don't know why we hired someone like you in the first place." Marcus stood there, silent, his jaw tight, while 15 mechanics watched. "Someone like me?" Marcus asked quietly. Richard sneered. "Yeah, someone who barely finished high school, someone who thinks tightening bolts is a career. You're fired. Security will escort you out." The other workers looked away, afraid to intervene, afraid to lose their own jobs. Marcus didn't argue. He didn't beg. He simply nodded, removed his work badge, and placed it on the tool bench. "You have no idea who you're talking to," Marcus said, his voice calm as stone. Richard laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "Oh, I know exactly who you are, a nobody. Now get out before I have you thrown out." Marcus walked toward the exit, his boots echoing in the deadly silence. And that's when they heard it, a distant thumping sound, growing louder, sharper, unmistakable. A helicopter. The walls of the garage began to vibrate. Workers rushed to the windows. Richard's smirk faltered. The helicopter descended into the company parking lot, a Navy Seahawk, rotors screaming, dust swirling like a storm. 2 officers in crisp uniforms stepped out, walking with absolute authority straight toward the building. Richard's face drained of color. The lead officer entered the garage, his eyes scanning the room until they locked on Marcus. He snapped to attention. "Captain Shadow," the officer said, his voice sharp and respectful. "We've been trying to reach you, sir. There's a situation. We need you immediately." The entire garage went silent. Every jaw dropped. Richard's eyes bulged like a man watching his own nightmare come to life. "Captain, what?" Richard stammered. Marcus turned slowly, and for the first time, Richard saw something in his eyes that made his blood run cold. Authority, command, danger. "Captain Marcus Shadow Bennett," the officer continued. "SEAL Team 6, 17 years of active service, 4 tours, classified operations across 3 continents. You were recommended for the Navy Cross last year." Richard's legs buckled. He grabbed the workbench to steady himself. You're a nobody," Marcus finished for him, his voice like iron. "Yeah, that's what you said." He turned to the officer. "What's the situation?" "Hostage rescue, Mediterranean. They specifically requested you, sir. No one else can lead this." Marcus nodded. He looked at the other mechanics, men who'd become his friends, who'd shared lunch breaks and stories about their kids. "Take care of yourselves," he said. Then he looked at Richard, who was now trembling, his arrogance shattered into 1,000 pieces. "You know what the difference is between you and me, Richard? You think power comes from a title. I know it comes from sacrifice, from serving something bigger than yourself. You'll never understand that." The officer handed Marcus a jacket. As he put it on, the room saw the medals, the insignia, the proof of a life lived in the shadows, protecting people who'd never know his name. Richard tried to speak, his mouth opening and closing like a dying fish. I didn't. I'm sorry, Save it," Marcus said. "You showed everyone here exactly who you are, and they won't forget." Marcus walked out, climbed into the helicopter, and as it lifted into the sky, Richard collapsed onto a chair, his hands shaking, knowing that he just humiliated a genuine American hero in front of everyone, knowing that this moment would define him forever, knowing that the nobody he destroyed was actually the somebody he could never be.